Ford built something great with the Mustang Mach-E, an EV SUV that delivers forward-thinking design and innovation in an electric vehicle that's actually fun to drive. Then, like all Mustangs, it went a little further. This is the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, the performance version of the Ford Mach-E, for those that want a little more power in their daily driver. If you're still angry about the Mustang name on this vehicle, fine, you can be upset. That's your prerogative. But you can't be angry about this GT badge right here. This little SUV deserves it. Behind the wheel, the Mustang Mach-E GT is a blast to drive. It's a pony that's hopped up on, I don't know, Red Bull and chocolate-covered coffee beans. You got power, you got cornering, whee, up a hill. Good times. That's thanks to 480 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. Ford says it'll do 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. All that power above the regular Mach-E is thanks to a more powerful front motor. Taking care of the handling is a sportier suspension that actually has this vehicle sitting nearly a ½ inch lower than the regular Mach-E. That extra gusto requires better brakes, which include larger rotors and these 4-piston Bembo brakes up front. Of course, it has regenerative braking and one-pedal driving, which worked pretty well. All that adds up to Mustang GT level fun when you put this machine into the rather comically named unbridled mode. You get it, unbridled, because it's a horse. It's a horse reference, because this is a Mustang. Horse. There are some caveats though. This is a tall and heavy EV, so as you're going into the corners, you can only battle physics for so long before you start feeling the weight of the battery, like right there. Look at that. Well, you can't tell, I can. So yes, it does deserve that GT badge on the back, even if you're still angry about this galloping horse right here, which by the way, glows at night like a ghost horse. But all that fun comes at a price. Starting at $62,000, the GT is about $18,000 more than the starting price of the regular Mach-E. You also pay for all that power with range. The regular rear-wheel drive Mach-E can get up to 314 miles of range. This one though, according to the EPA, will do 270 miles on the road before you have to pull over. In our test, we got exactly 270.27 miles of range out of the Mach-E GT. Frankly, that's more than adequate for a majority of drivers. Inside the Mach-E GT, you have the same tech that you would find in the regular Mach-E, including this 15.5-inch portrait touchscreen display that has the volume controls, an actual knob you can turn left and right here in the middle of the display. The infotainment system is Ford's Sync 4 infotainment system, and for the most part, it's pretty easy to use. All of your climate controls are down here, but what's weird is that, well, it can be a little bit confusing. For example, the main items are here in the home screen, but there's also the car items. And within the car items, there are controls and settings. Okay, let's say I hit driver's assistance. You can do auto hold in controls, but then you have to hit this to go to settings, and then you have all the driver's assistance settings, which makes me wonder, why is driver's assistance in controls at all? It takes a little bit to get used to, probably about a day or so. After that, you should be fine, but controls and settings are almost the same thing. It's a little bit confusing. I do like these widgets though that sit along the bottom above the climate controls, and what they do is they give you access to things you've used recently. For example, using CarPlay, connecting to CarPlay, using the owner's manual. I had to look something up in the owner's manual. So all those are right down here, and they're very easy to just sort of tap on, and then it pops up in the display. So that is actually pretty cool. There is one more thing that's sort of odd about this display, and that is the fact that it is flat up against the dashboard. I really wish there was, I don't know, maybe a few degrees where it turned towards the driver to make it more driver-centric. I'm guessing it's so that the passenger can also use it, but the driver is in the car 100% of the time. The passenger's in the car, well, that just sort of depends on your life, but 100% of the time, I need to be able to use this thing, and just even like a couple of degrees, just a scooch, that would have been great. The vehicle does have a voice assistant with a Ford wake word. You can set it to OK Ford, hello Ford, which, you know, one of these four that you like. And it's not as nice or as robust as what you would find in a Mercedes, but it does work well for your navigation, your media, your phone, Sirius XM, and a couple mobile apps. Although it kept wanting to send me to a Delta when I was looking for Del Taco because I just wanted a burrito. Navigate to Del Taco.
Please choose.
The system also supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, both of those wirelessly. Right here behind the steering wheel is the instrument cluster, which is actually, it's only about yay tall, which is different than what you're seeing on more and more automakers outside of Volkswagen. But I actually like it. It gives me the information that I need and really nothing more. It has my state of charge. It has turn-by-turn directions. It tells me how I'm doing with the driver assistance system, and of course has the speed and the speed limit of the road that I'm on. And that's really all I need. I don't need any extra stuff. When you have the media information in there, I mean, I guess it's nice, but I'd rather see the speed limit or how fast I'm going more than what track I'm listening to. As for the driver's assistance in this vehicle, it has the optional Blue Cruise, which is Ford's hands-free system. It's like GM's Super Cruise. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting close to what GM is offering. I used this system a little over a year ago, and it kept deactivating, and it didn't really do such a great job at lane centering. Now it's doing much better. It only works on certain divided highways, and it requires you to pay attention to the road. If I'm not paying attention to the road, it will yell at me and then it will turn itself off. So you have to always be looking forward, looking at the world at hand, and it uses an in-car monitoring system. There are little monitors, little cameras right here, this little nub on the steering column to make sure that I'm looking that way. I still wish that, like BMW and GM, there were lights on the steering wheel to alert me when I needed to return my hands to the wheel. Most of the time, one moment the system was on and the next, well, it was off. And the only information I had that it was off was that the dash cluster turned a different color. At charging stations, it supports DC fast charging up to 150 kilowatts, which, well, isn't the fastest that's out there, but it is good enough. At home, it has an AC onboard charger, 10.5 kilowatts, so you should have no problem overnight charging with this vehicle. What's nice is that while on the go, is that the Mach-E GT supports plug and charge. You link your supported EV charging company account to your Ford Pass account, and you just need to pull up, plug in, and not worry about using a credit card or launching a charging company's app. Inside, the interior is on par with most regular Mustangs. Not exactly fancy, but that's not what a GT is about. The seats are comfortable with a nice amount of side bolsters for spirited corners. I will say that I'm not a fan of these weird shoulder bolsters. I mean, this might be just because I'm a tall person and they sort of hit me in a weird spot, but they're just kind of odd. Otherwise, these seats are actually pretty comfortable. The back seats are pretty comfortable. You know, you have about the same amount of legroom as you would in most mid-size SUVs. Not a lot for tall people, but for regular size people and for children, they should be fine. There's plenty of headroom, both in the front and in the back. And in the trunk, even with the seats up, the rear seats up, you still have enough room for a quick run to Home Depot for some supplies, maybe not giant 2x4s, but for some tools and whatever. With a price tag that is north of $60,000, its biggest competitor is the Tesla Model Y Performance. In fact, both of these vehicles essentially cost the same. So Ford may have made people mad about putting the Mustang name on this little SUV, but anger or no anger, the spirit of the Mustang lives in the GT version of this vehicle, whether or not it has a glowing horse up front. For more coverage of cars by Ford that for some reason have made a lot of people very angry, be sure to subscribe to Engadget.